Alabama, let's get it.
The process, no one can stop this. Hottest show in the streets, I bet you can't top this. Rammer, jammer, yellow hammer, come see how we rock this. Alabama fans the best, there's no way you can top this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
The process.
Welcome to The Process, Crimson Tide Recruiting. I'm your host, Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine. The Process is Touchdown Alabama's premier recruiting show, so while you're here, be sure to subscribe to Touchdown Alabama on YouTube to stay updated on everything Alabama football recruiting with The Process and yours truly. On this episode, The Process is actually a special edition as I will answer the questions that you guys left on The Process's voicemail at 205-440-3968. I want to get you guys involved with the process more this time around, so I do have a couple of recruiting questions. I do want to answer the questions that you guys did leave at that voicemail. But before we dive deeper into that, I do have a couple of recruiting updates to hit you guys with, keep you guys updated on everything Alabama football recruiting. So with that being said, let's get the process started. I have a couple of recruiting updates to provide you guys. A lot of things has happened in between our last show and this show, which was last Tuesday's episode. I did miss Thursday episode due to a personal loss in the family, but we are back rolling right here on The Process, and I do have a couple of recruiting updates to provide you guys with. As most of you guys know, the 2020 NFL draft did happen last week, and Alabama did use their success in the draft to their advantage on the recruiting trail, reaching out to recruits, sending them graphics, talking about their NFL success, the success they had in this NFL draft, as well as previous drafts, showing that they have consistently put guys in the NFL. So Alabama is using that to their advantage. They were also included in a top 10 released by 2021 three-star tight end Elijah Arroyo out of Texas. This is a kid who Alabama hosted for one of the junior day events. So Alabama has hosted him, has stayed in contact with him, and he told me they have remained in contact with him throughout this recruiting dead period. So Alabama was included in a top 10 by Elijah Arroyo. They were also included in a final 3 by Jason Marshall Jr., a 5-star cornerback in the 2021 recruiting class. Still considering Alabama, as he did include them in his final 3 on yesterday. So Alabama is still getting involved with recruits, still reaching out to recruits, and also still extending offers, as they sent a couple offers over the last week or so. One of those offers went out to a 2022 linebacker inside the state of Alabama, out of Montgomery, Alabama, and TJ Dudley. I actually recently caught up with the versatile linebacker. He's one of the more versatile players in the 2022 recruiting class. He really looks up to former Alabama linebacker and current Cleveland Browns linebacker Mack Wilson. He talked about that relationship with me. You guys can check out that article on touchdownalabama.com. The link will be in the description of this video as well. Alabama also recently offered a 6'4" 2022 wide receiver in Faison Wilson out of Texas. I also caught up with Faison, a big aggressive wideout in the 2022 recruiting class. He currently stands at 6'4" and weighs 210 pounds. I talked with him about his interest in Alabama and talk about his reaction to getting the offer from Alabama. You guys can check out that article on touchdownalabama.com. Alabama is also still pushing for several recruits, as they are still pushing for 5-star defensive tackle Lee Hunter out of Blunt High School in 8 Mile, Alabama. He is currently verbally committed to the Auburn Tigers, but Alabama is still recruiting him. He did tweet out recently that his recruitment is still 100% open, so the door is still open for Alabama to possibly make a flip down the line. I know that Alabama's coaching staff is going to continue to pursue and going to continue to recruit him very hard in their 2021 recruiting class. Alabama also missed out on a couple of their targets. One of the more notable ones is the fact that Alabama missed out on 5-star defensive end and outside linebacker in the 2021 recruiting class, and Dylan Brooks out of Hanley High School in Hanley, Alabama. I think this is a huge hit to Alabama's 2021 recruiting class due to the fact that this is an in-state kid, one of those guys who really fits the mold of Alabama's outside linebacker position, a long, lengthy guy who can really get after the quarterback, an effective tackler, a guy who really likes to make contact, and he's a really athletic kid off the edge as well. I don't think Alabama will lay off on him. I don't think Auburn will lay off on him as well. I don't think they're going to just let him leave the state as easily as some guys think. I think Alabama's going to continue to pursue him, but he looks locked in at Tennessee at the moment. Alabama also missed out on a commitment on with 4-star defensive back Kamara Coxon out of IMG Academy in Florida. He's originally a Georgia prospect. He will play his senior season at IMG Academy. We actually had Kamara Coxon on the process a couple of shows back. He did tell me that Alabama's head coach Nick Saban had FaceTime him. They have been telling him that he's one of their top defensive back targets, but he did choose to go to Tennessee, as Tennessee is on the road on the recruiting trail. He did say he would not take any more visits. So if he does cancel all of those visits and cut off all of his contact with coaches, I think Alabama's coaching staff will pull off on him, but they do have a couple of other defensive back targets still on the board. You miss out on some, you get some. So Alabama's still recruiting other guys to the defensive back position. Alabama's also still pushing for a 2021 3-star defensive end out of Ohio and Darryl Peterson. Yeah, I actually caught up with Peterson as he set an official visit to Alabama on June 18th through 20th. He told me that he's going to commit this summer regardless, even if the NCAA does not lift its current recruiting restrictions. He's still going to commit this summer anyway. Alabama did host him for the Junior Day event in February, so Alabama has hosted him. They have remained in contact with him, constantly telling him that they still want him at the capstone in the 2021 recruiting class. So those are a couple of recruiting updates I wanted to provide you guys with. A lot of things are going on with Alabama football recruiting. And before we move on, I do have another update I want to hit you guys with. Alabama is still pushing for 2021 4-star wide receiver Malcolm Johnson out of Florida. He did tell me that out of Maryland, he did tell me that Alabama's coaching staff has been in contact with him as well. He also reacted to Alabama's top wide receiver in the 2020 NFL draft, Henry Ruggs, first wide receiver coming off the board so early. He told me it felt like a transition to him to more of a speedy aspect to the wide receiver position at the National Football League, as he's one of the fastest guys in the 2021 recruiting class, and they really like the fact that Henry Ruggs came off the board. And I think Alabama's really going to lean on that when they're recruiting Malcolm Johnson. So a lot of recruiting updates, a lot of things going on with Alabama football recruiting, and I wanted to provide you guys with those recruiting updates. But now we're going to go to you guys' questions. We have a couple of questions here. We're going to dive right into them. So let's dive right into our first question.
Yes, this is Mike. I was just wondering about recruiting, if it's going to pick up pretty soon, or I know this virus has got everything, down, but I'm getting a little worried about 2021 class right now. But any information, I sure would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. I know a lot of Alabama fans are concerned of Alabama's current 2021 recruiting class and currently where it stands with only 3 verbal commitments at the moment, with pledges from Deontay Lawson, a 4-star linebacker, and Quinn Barnes, a 3-star defensive tackle, and HUDl, a 5-star wide receiver out of Florida. I know Alabama's coaching staff only had 1 verbal commitment for a couple of months with Lawson's pledge, and they did gain some momentum by landing commitments from HUDl and Quinn Barnes. And as Alabama's 4-star quarterback target Miller Moss said on the process a couple of shows back, he did say that Alabama's coaching staff is taking a slow approach to this recruiting cycle, to the 2021 recruiting cycle, and I think they're in a bit of a unusual you could say, an unusual space with their 2021 recruiting classes. They were not expecting COVID-19, the coronavirus, to have such a huge impact on their recruiting efforts, stopping them from hosting guys and possibly stopping them from hosting guys for camps. And I think Alabama's coaching staff is really looking forward to the summer, getting guys on campus for visits, of course, who have not been hosted, as well as getting guys on campus to camp at the University of Alabama, and hopefully extend offers to guys they have already built relationship with and guys they have yet to build relationships with. So Alabama's coaching staff is really looking forward to the summer, was looking forward to getting more guys on campus this spring so they can get closer to making commitments. But it's no excuse in my mind, because I feel that other programs across the country are taking advantage of this recruiting dead period, landing commitments from some of their top targets. Clemson is picking up momentum, continuing to pick up momentum. Ohio State is picking up momentum, and as you guys can see, Tennessee is really picking up a lot of momentum. I think Alabama's coaching staff may try to attempt to land a couple of guys next month due to the fact that the recruiting dead period does extend to May 31st. So I do think Alabama will try to push for a couple of guys in the month of May, get a couple of guys committed. So hopefully they're going to June and they'll be able to host guys for visits again. They'll be able to have at least 4, 5 to 6 commitments.
What's going on, Justin Smith? This is Tide Talk Web. Got a quick question. I seen where the number one defensive end of the country and the number one player in the state of Alabama for the 2021 class committed to Jeremy Pruitt at Tennessee. Is that concerning to you? And with everything that's going on in the world right now with this COVID-19 and everything, do you think that's the reason we've been really slow out of the gate on getting recruits? Or does this slowness concern you going forward in the 2021 class? Love your show. Keep up the hard work, and hope you have a great weekend. Thanks. Bye.
Well, as always, thank you so much for your question. And as I said earlier in the show, I feel this is a huge hit for Alabama's 2021 recruiting class, especially if Dylan Brooks goes on to sign with the Tennessee Volunteers, just based off the fact that Alabama's head coach Nick Saban and Alabama's coaching staff is trying to make sure they lock down the state of Alabama. And they have done it over the last 2 recruiting cycles, pulling in the top guy from the state of Alabama over the last 2 recruiting classes. When you look at the 2019 class and the 2020 class, Alabama was able to get in a lot of those top kids inside the state of Alabama. They want to continue doing that during this 2021 recruiting class where the state of Alabama is loaded. So I don't see Alabama cooling off on Dylan Brooks. I think that their coaching staff are going to continue to stay in contact with them. He has a great relationship with Alabama's outside linebackers coach, Sal Sinceri. He told me once he actually visited Alabama just to talk football with Sinceri. So Alabama is going to continue to push for him. I don't think they're just going to give up on his recruitment unless he says he wants to shut down his recruitment 100%. He don't want to talk to any other coaches or does not want to take any other visits. Of course, Alabama's coaching staff will cool off then, but I don't think they're going to cool off just because he's verbally committed to Tennessee. And so are the other teams that are going to continue recruiting him, including LSU and Auburn. So I don't think his recruitment is done if he does not shut it down. So that's just something to look at as far as Dylan Brooks is concerned. But the virus has affected Alabama's recruiting efforts. They are not able to host guys. They're not able to evaluate guys as of yet because they can't host guys for camps or anything. But they are continuing to recruit, and so have the top programs across the nation: Clemson, Ohio State, and several other programs, several major Power 5 programs who are going to compete against Alabama on the football field in the college football playoffs and some of the more important games of the football season have picked up some momentum on the recruiting trail during this recruiting data period. So it has affected Alabama's recruiting efforts, but as I said earlier in the show as well, I think it's no excuse. And I think Alabama's coaching staff is catching on that they have to really do some damage on the recruiting trail during this recruiting dead period and hopefully go into the month of June when the recruiting restrictions are hopefully lifted. They'll be able to start hosting guys and build some bigger momentum. So as I said earlier in the show, I think they're going to try to add 2 to 3 guys next month and hopefully go into the month of June with a couple of more commits. So it's definitely something to be concerned about. I think it's going to have some impact on Alabama's 2021 recruiting class when it's all finished. But I think this class still has the potential to be strong just based off some of the top targets on the board, some of the guys that are still in state considering Alabama. So Alabama's 2021 recruiting class still can be a good class, but this global pandemic did have an impact on this class.
Hey, Justin, I was reading your article on Touchdown Alabama about a defensive end out of Ohio named Darryl Peterson, and I want to get your opinion on the possibility of him coming to Alabama. Definitely appreciate all you do. Thanks.
Well, that's a good question. Thank you so much for it. I know Darryl Peterson is a guy I talked about earlier in the show. I did catch up with him. He will officially visit Alabama June 18th through 20th if the recruiting restrictions are lifted and Alabama can start hosting guys after May 31st. The current dead period is going through May 31st according to the NCAA. So if Alabama is able to host guys again, they will get Darryl Peterson for an official visit in the month of June. This guy will take 4 official visits during that month. He will officially visit Michigan, Wisconsin, and West Virginia. Alabama was included in a final 3 he released with West Virginia and Wisconsin. Michigan is a team who offered them late. They're trying to build that relationship. It is great for Alabama that they do have a relationship with them, have stayed in contact with them. This is a kid Alabama feels can play multiple positions at the next level, and I definitely see why they feel that way. He's a long guy, 6'3", a relentless edge rusher, guy who set his single season school sack record with 21 sacks during his senior season, was able to acquire 45 total tackles. So this is a very versatile linebacker, guy who's rated as a 3-star recruit on most recruiting sites. If he does commit to Alabama, win Touchdown Alabama gets a chance to rank him on our site, he most definitely be a 4-star recruit. We definitely think he needs to start off as a 4-star recruit, and I think that's going to translate on most recruiting sites as well. They're going to probably push him up to a 4-star before he officially signs to wherever school he goes to. So Darryl Peterson is a guy Alabama is still heavily involved with. They did host him for the Junior Day event in March, so Alabama has stayed in contact with them. I think they are a player in this recruitment, but so is Wisconsin and West Virginia. So he did tell me that if he's not able to take any of his official visits, he will commit earlier. He's going to commit this summer regardless of what happens. So he's going to commit to the school of his choice during the month of June and July if he's not able to take those visits. So Darryl Peterson is a guy whose commitment is coming up, and I think Alabama is in a good position with him. I think he's going to be an underrated kid who any school will be glad to have, and I think Alabama has a good chance of landing him.
Hey, Justin, this is Brian. I was wondering, I had a question. Who do you think will be Alabama's next recruit? Who do you think will be Alabama's next recruit? That's my question. All right, thank you. Love the show, by the way.
Well, there are a couple of guys who could be the next Alabama commit. Just when we look at their top targets, I'm not going to just say anybody because a lot of guys do not have their commitment they set. Some guys are just waiting, holding off their recruitment due to the fact they cannot visit any schools at this very moment. So I'm just going to name some guys who do not have a commitment they set, but they are looking at Alabama. I will put Darryl Peterson in this because he is a guy who's expected to commit during the summer. He's a guy who's probably one of Alabama's targets who does have a commitment time frame coming up. So Darryl Peterson is a guy I would say JaQuincy McKinstry just based off Alabama staying in contact with him. Alabama showing that they want him to play both sports, making him a priority. And also recently worked out with Alabama's defensive tackle and Birmingham product, Quinnen Williams. So I know Quinnen Williams, when he was spending time with him, possibly pushed that Alabama on him as far as saying what Alabama can do for him. So I think Alabama's in a good position with him. He did tell me that his commitment is going to be in the moment. He does not have a commitment they set, so he's just waiting on the right moment. So I would say JaQuincy McKinstry, I would put him in it. Terrion Arnold, the guy who's taking his commitment very slow. He did tell me on an episode of The Process a couple of weeks back that Nick Saban told him that he's their number 1 defensive back on the board, and Nick Saban is not going to say that lightly. I'm pretty sure he's not taking that lightly, especially the way Alabama's head coach Nick Saban works with defensive backs at the next level. So Terrion Arnold is a guy I would put in the mix for a possible commitment to Alabama in the near future. So those are a couple of guys who I would say I feel comfortable while saying possibly could be Alabama's next commit, a guy who could commit to Alabama in the future. A couple of guys just to keep an eye on moving forward. Ian Jackson is another guy we'll definitely put in the mix. Also a 4-star linebacker out of Prattville High School in Prattville, Alabama. Thank you guys so much for joining the process right here on Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page. The recruiting voicemail for the process will actually change. The number will change in the future as we will change our services, as we have noticed that a lot of you guys have not been able to leave recruiting voicemail. So we're going to change our platform. Make sure you guys can get your recruiting questions in the future. I will drop the number in this description when we have updated the number and choose the service that we want to use moving forward. But before you leave, be sure to subscribe to Touchdown Alabama on YouTube, pick up a subscription at touchdowналabama.com, and also download the Touchdown Alabama app to stay updated on everything Alabama football. As always, I am Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine.
Process.